just seem to have evolved into such a complicated
Here we
game.
go.
Now
And
we
we're
go
in the
into
picks and bans.
And Cassidy is banned out.
Cassidy is banned out.
Right. And CJ banned Rumble.
CJ did ban Rumble, so it looks like maybe, you know, maybe they have some inside info about Najin. Maybe they were a little worried of the Rumble pick. And, okay. So here we have Lulu also banned, so that utility mid. Lulu's just an overall good pick.
LeBlanc.
And there's LeBlanc, which a little questionable considering Coco, you know, Coco has 4 picks on LeBlanc and no wins.
Not a single win.
Not a single win. So that's a little bizarre. And there comes Soraka with Twitch. Now Twitch going to be one of the most contested picks, definitely. Probably either pick or ban. Because the true damage, his range, his positioning makes it extremely hard.
Jax is
Jax
hovering,
on Shy.
is considering it, and you can hear the crowd already excited.
Yep. He's hovering over it. Will he lock in? Now Jax, you know, first pick, it does leave him susceptible to getting counterpicked. Leaves him susceptible to lane swaps. You know, and technically they might be able to mix it up. Now, I don't think it might happen, but Jax is the counter to Feral Flare junglers. A lot of people don't know that.
Right.
Because Feral Flare junglers are on hit based, and Jax 2/3 core item can take on most 3/4 core item Feral Flare junglers, because he has a disengage, he has a gap closer, he has counter strike, and here we go with the Thresh.
But they decided to go with Thresh. I mean, since Thresh is such a dominant support, and Jax is locked in.
Jax is
Najin
locked in.
does not stay away from considering. I mean, they just made these so quickly.
And here's
is this an indication that they know what they're going to pick? They have a composition ready.
It seems like it is, with how fast the lock-ins are, or it might just be stealing it away from CJ.
Right. And it's surprising.
And here comes Lucian. So it looks like, I don't expect Coco to pull out a mid Lucian. We haven't seen that in a very long time.
Right.
Double AD carry would be a little bit odd in this meta.
Right.
So it looks like we're going to have a Lucian Thresh bot lane.
And Shyvana, it seems, it's... Oh, they lock in Shyvana and Lucian.
They lock in Shyvana and Lucian. Now, it's important to note, Space has 5 games on Jinx, 5 games on Lucian. Okay? And Mad Life on Thresh. That's scary in itself. You know? He has 3 games on Thresh, you know, that we're going on.
Right.
And so now we have a Shyvana. Is that going to be Feral Flare?
Right.
Is that going to be top?
Right. It seems that, was there actually need to lock in Shyvana this early, though? That the enemy has already picked the top laner? Is there a reason to pick Shyvana this early, though? Why didn't they pick something better? They
may be thinking that, well, Shyvana, again, it can go in 2 different areas. It can go into jungle Shyvana, it can go into top Shyvana. This is also purple side Shyvana, so it has a slightly even higher edge against purple side Jax. I mean, it's blue side Shyvana, has a higher edge against purple side Jax.
Right.
And that's just the dynamics of the lane control, and how the minions are, ward placements, etc. But we don't know, again, is a 4-0-1, 1-0-4 going to come into play? Is a line swap going to come into play? Lucian Thresh, that's a very heavy bully lane.
And we see Israel picked with... it's been a while since we've seen Israel played in competitive league.
This is extremely rare. Prey has no games on Ezreal.
Right.
Have not seen him in a while. He is very mobile. Okay, so he can arcane shift out of the hooks. So they might, start playing jukes in bot lane. The Leona pick makes sense. You pick Leona into Thresh, he can't really death sentence onto you. If he comes onto you, you get a free stun, then you still have your Zenith Blade up to, latch onto Lucian. The natural passive from her W just creates a lot of synergy.
Right.
Also marking the targets with her passive for Ezreal, really easy to hit, really easy to proc. And they have the Jax and the Lee Sin pick, which this is gap closer everywhere.
Right.
And with Talisman of Ascension, if a Leona elects to build that, this is going to be a huge chase down comp, especially if stalemates occur in the mid.
And now we see Nidalee picked mid, and Swift seems to go with Evelyn, something that we haven't seen so often.
Yep. So we're seeing a Evelyn
Nande locks in the Yasuo to counter the Nidalee. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
The Nidalee pick is something I was talking about earlier, where if you do leave open Nidalee and you can get your opponent to pick into it, yes, you do counter it with Yasuo. You have the knock-up from Lee Sin, one of the absolute best supports for, the Yasuo ult. Probably only second to Malphite.
Right. And
if you, would argue that. Right. And so, then you have the Evelyn pickup, which I believe this is his first game showcasing Evelyn in recent, so this is going to be unique. This is definitely an interesting team comp.
This is an interesting comp.
And we have both top laners running teleport. So Shyvana definitely does want to be able to help out, possibly split push later in the later in the game.
Right, right. So they risked giving Madlife the Thresh, and are you surprised that they chose to ban out Soraka instead of banning out Thresh?
I'm more surprised about. I'm actually a little bit surprised. Now that I'm thinking about it, the not banning out Thresh is a little bit weird when CJ has first pick.
Right.
And
given
it is
that
Madlife
is Thresh. I mean, so does that mean that they're confident that Leona, I mean, has enough to be more influential than Thresh, perhaps during the teamfight phase?
Yep. Also, it's important to note that Kane has a comfort pick on Leona. It is his most picked champion.
Right. And you can hear the crowd getting excited for this matchup as we start to move on towards the game itself. You've waited for a long time, ladies and gentlemen, and now the game seems to get underway. CJ Entus Frost versus Najin Black Sword, a competition of the ages. The traditional rivals go head-to-head, and what better place is there to feature this matchup other than the NLB Finals?
It's also important to note that Nanya has 2 games on Yasuo. So, we haven't gotten to see too much of it, but the Lee Sin follow-up, they have the chase comp, they have the stuns, solar flare.
Now we finally get underway.
Here we are.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this historical matchup, Najin Black Sword versus CJ Entus Frost. And we see the jungler sort of hovering over there. The teams seem to be spread out.
Right, they're just doing a fan out right now. Both teams have a very potent level 1, so I don't think any of them want to risk, anything going on in the earlier stages of the game. Also, again, we are still on 4.7. The trinkets are not. I mean, the trinkets are changed, but
we can't use them that early on, right?
Braum is disabled. Shen is disabled, so these are just things to factor in.
Oh,
we just see Evelyn dancing with Lee Sin.
Right.
He's just throwing out cues, check if Evelyn's there. And it doesn't look like we're going to have we might have a lane swap. There is positioning, for it with Madlife, Coco.
So which team do you think, do both teams care whether they get lane swapped or not? Is there a side that prefers to lane swap?
I think, well, a lane swap here, it would favor Shyvana. Because Jax has a harder time dealing with it, harder time CSing under tower. Shyvana does have some, ability to CS with range. And here we go, we have a 4-man coming into the invade. Jax is just here trying to scope it out. Looks like they're gonna be taking red. Now, I'm curious, are they gonna give this to Swift? Okay, it seems like they are. And just from level 1, Nanya showing dominance in lane, getting in the face of Coco, because Italy is weak level 1.
Right.
She needs time to scale. She is a champion that does need items.
I mean, all she has is pretty much her auto and the spear, right?
Right. We have some interesting play going on here, wards on both sides, and we do have the line swap that does in fact favor Shyvana. So Shyvana's just going to pick up a little bit of jungle farm. Helios, Limit, they're going to come here, they're going to mimic it, they had the ward down. Looks like they're going to take red and give this to Helios, and then Jax will just cycle down.
So can we expect a 3v3 in the mid lane a few minutes later? It seems that they seem, the top laner and the jungler seem to be hovering around, very aware of what might happen in the mid lane pretty soon. I'm
not foreseeing a 3v3, mostly because Nidalee and Evelyn, it doesn't really. There's not a lot of potency for a 3v3 when you factor in Lee Sin, Yasuo.
Right.
So I'm not thinking anything like that's going to happen. No teleports going down by either top here. It looks like they're going to come over. They have the ward down in the brush. They know nothing's going on. They might go for a play on Coco. And again, Najin does have the superior 3-man in mid. Still nothing going down in bot lane. I'm sure that they're communicating that with their teams. And now CJ Shy actually joins the bot lane to pressure the top. Right. And this is really interesting. Now, technically, CJ does have the faster tower push with their team comp in terms of just raw AD and stats, like how fast they can shred a tower. So they did elect for the line swap. So this is what they want to do, and this would be a way to set Jax behind.
And
Flash coming out of
Flash
9.
Down.
Yep.
Wow, a very
We have the 4-man bottom.
right. So the moment they saw the 4-man at bot,
Yep.
Evelyn just going in there.
Evelyn's just going in, pressure mid, give control over to Coco in mid. The flash is down. That is so scary right now because that'll greatly affect their rotations. They're going to trade, tower for tower. It's just going to reset the lanes. We're looking at the total global gold. Not much of a difference.
And now we see Shy back at top lane farming with Evelyn sort of sitting him there, preparing for any sort of ganks that might come in.
Yep. Just waiting to get a catch, possibly. And even if it doesn't get the kill, probably gets the flash. Red buff, the slow.
And now
and it looks like Shy's getting really low.
Shy's in trouble, but as it might actually be who's going to get... And Evelyn gets the first blood! Limit maybe was a little too ambitious.
Beautiful play right there.
That was an artistic play by Shy and Swift over there. That Limit might have thought that he was going to be able to get the kill with the amount of minions, but he has a... What happened there?
Well, it was just probably a miscalculation. That's all that it comes down to. We saw Evelyn had Q and E because as soon as she procced the level up, instantaneously upgrade W. That's a very important thing to do when you're going for a gank on Evelyn at
You've got to have the
you
skills.
have to, right. So now the lanes are resetting. Shyvana and top, Jax now farming golems because he recognizes he's behind. He has to concede, lane advantage right now.
Right.
Shyvana is up on levels. She's up 2 levels. Now it looks like Shy's going to go back, recall.
She's up on CS too.
But Helios is here.
And Evelyn seems to know. Oh, they
And
ping the
Swift,
Lee Sin.
right, they ping the Lee
know
Sin.
that he's there. A 2v2 is about to go down. Oh, the tension is incredible. The amount of... So in this situation, is Lee Sin aware that Evelyn is camping over there? Now they go into Shy to get the kill, but Swift strikes him from behind. Helios is taking tons of damage. He manages to safeguard out of there, but Limit is in trouble again. His flash is down, but he leaves strikes away from danger. No casualties made.
And that was really great. Basically, CJ knew that Shy was up on levels, and it's not just up on levels. He's up on skills, he's up on base HP, base damage, base stats, and so is Evelyn. So right. Shy can take a little bit of damage, bait them into it, make it think they're going to get it, maybe get Jax to commit with Leap, get Lee Sin to commit with, Q, and then try to turn it on them, which they did, and it was successful. So that was really well played by CJ.
I mean, the amount of calculation that must go into these matches is just absurd. Now, Evelyn just seems to be almost stalking Lee Sin.
Evelyn's playing a very counter gank style, and that's basically because the lane in mid is weaker for Nidalee, definitely. So by playing a counter gank style and applying a lot of pressure to the other lanes, it forces Lee Sin to show himself.
Right.
So it relieves a lot of pressure from Nidalee.
Right.
And with the lanes reset, see bottom lane almost at half HP now. Mad Life, Space, relatively high in HP.
But something that's noticeable is that CJ did get the kill, but the global gold difference doesn't seem to be getting any wider than the 300 gold that they got from the kill. So the amount of farm that these teams are stacking up are actually very similar.
Yeah.
So other than the kill, there is nothing that separates these two teams.
There's nothing really separating them. We see in terms of CS, they're relatively close. Shyvana, obviously, with the lead over Jax.
And Helios is going for the blue, probably not going to give that to Yasuo.
Yasuo doesn't need it, totally, to benefit from it. He's not a champion that is completely reliant on it. And Lee Sin is behind a little bit, so he does need to catch up, needs that XP, the cooldowns. So it's not totally a bad play. And here, Limit, again, farming golems because he's behind, and he recognizes this is a way to catch up. You have to do whatever you can.
I mean, it must be a frustrating situation for Limit right now, especially when you're a top laner. Top seems to be the lane that once you fall behind, it's hard to catch up.
It is, definitely, especially with the towers down and the way that they are. It already favors Shyvana, blue side as it is. And now with the dynamics of the top lane, Shyvana having the edge.
And
just win wall.
So Nagni actually also picked Yasuo to counter Nidalee, but it seems like Nidalee's actually pressuring Yasuo more. What's happening here?
I think this comes back to the flash going down level 1. It probably gave Nidalee much more breathing room in the mid lane that traditionally she would not have. And that enabled her to get a bit early lead. And also, something to consider is that Coco has Exhaust.
Right.
Very, extremely uncommon pick. And here we have...
Shy engages Limit. He knows he knows that he's going to win this matchup.
Right. He just does the dragon form, pushes him back into tower, tries to chunk him for a little bit of HP.
Now they're pinging. They know that Evelyn is there since she's erasing the pink ward.
Culling going
and
down.
Prey getting tons of damage dealt upon him.
And it benefits them to get them really low because...
And now Prey, Arcane Barrage goes in, but I don't think there's going to be much casualties here.
There's not going to be any casualties here. They know Lee Sin's top. They don't have to back off from this minion wave. They can just pull back a little bit, reposition, go back to their corners, and then reset. And now, you know, they know that everything's kind of down, in a sense. In terms of like being revealed, they know Lee Sin's mid. Nidalee now coming down. And Evelyn's going to rotate mid.
And Mad Life flashes forward, but the teleport is coming down on him. They have to finish one off quickly. And Prey is in trouble, taking tons of damage. And Coco Spear lands, and Limit flashes back, but I think Shai is able to chase him. And Limit is being chased, and Nagne blocking out the spear. The Agony Embrace Swifts also come in, and Limit escapes with a sliver of HP, but CJ Frost manages to pick up 2 kills while giving off only 1.
Right. And they delayed the teleport down on Shyvana there because Nidalee was there. Evelyn was holding down mid. There was no opportunity for, you know, a line shove happening in mid. And then if they force them back through their own jungle, their home jungle, Evelyn can come around with Agony's Embrace, create the slow, get traps, and then they can simply just rotate down to Dragon like we're seeing here.
So CJ picking up a lot of benefit. The Arcane Barrage comes in, but not enough as Swift is going to come in, and he even smited early, confident that he's going to get the Dragon. Now CJ Frost up ahead by 2,000, almost 2,000 gold this early in the game.
And this is huge. You know, this is not a goal deficit that you want to be down this early in the game at 10 minutes.
So, what does Najin have to do from this point onwards?
Right now, Najin has, in my opinion, the superior late game comp, because eventually it's going to hit a point where Yasuo can just throw up Wind Wall and deny Nidalee. And it's all going to come down, can Nidalee get a hit?
Right.
And then in terms of chase potential, in terms of stalemate,
right,
Najin's going to have that edge in terms of extended mid battles, extended dragon dances.
Right.
So Najin, basically, they're looking at a long game right now. They can't just get a snowball and then start bulldozing.
So Najin actually has a reason to hold out on this game since, like you've said, they have a better late game composition.
They have a better late game.
So they do have something to fight for at this point. The game is nowhere near over.
It's not over yet. You can't say that now it's only 1.4k gold. You can't say that this is a deficit that is unrecoverable,
right.
Especially when factoring in the team comps.
And Nagne is in the bot lane farming. What does Najin have in mind? Are they trying to feed Yasuo so that he can be influential later?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I feel like Yasuo is going to be providing utility. The basis of the damage will certainly come out of Jax, and then also Ezreal in the later stages, just because this team, it does feature a little bit more...
Solar Flare goes down, but the amount of damage that was dealt at Ezreal... Can they hold out the mid tower?
They'll hold it for a little bit. We see now Shyvana rotating down as Dragon Mode. It looks like she's coming in from behind the tower. They might go for a dive here.
And Shyvana is being so potent in dives, they have to be careful. And CJ knows that Yasuo is in the bot lane.
Right, and they also know that Leona's ult is down. So
right.
There's a lot of things, and it looks like
Mad Life's play misses. They managed to pull off so they exchanged Swift's ult for Helios' flash. CJ seemed to have benefited from this trade as well.
Right, and this is not something that Najin wants to have happening to them right now. You do not want to be getting into positional disadvantages when you're already behind, especially not when your team relies on positioning.
And they're just holding out on the mid tower, and the spear hits, and the damage, I'm not sure whether they'll be able to sustain. How important is the mid tower? And the death sentence lands, but
yeah, they can't follow up on that there because, you know, while yes, some of the summoners are down, some of the ultimates are down, they just don't have the damage yet. It's too early to be making plays like that, and they wouldn't be able to burst the mid tower down before Chain CC comes out.
And they do take the mid tower. How significant is the mid tower this early on in the game?
Taking it around 13 minutes, it's not the earliest mid-tower, but obviously we can see from the vision control, now Najin's having to surrender their own jungle.
Right, and Swift just confidently walks in there.
Right. Q lands.
And Shy is taking the mini golems too. The Najin jungle seems to be almost, we might as well say that that is CJ territory.
Right, at this point, with mid-tower conceded, bot tower is still up, and now we see a push coming down mid, so they're going to concede top for mid-tower, recall, and then try to meet them at tier 3, and we already see the recalls.
And Limit can probably take down this tower, given that it is Jax, but is CJ going to be able to push... Is CJ unable to take the inhibitor tower, but that was an exchange between the inner turret and for CJ, and Najin takes down the mid tower as well. Who benefited from this exchange?
Definitely CJ benefits from it. The tier 2 being down leaves open so many possibilities for Shyvana for a split push later on. The mid tower is beneficial. Okay, they do need to clear that out because Dragon is coming up. You don't want your minions getting stalemated in mid, and you also don't want them to have that kind of tower to fall back to through their own jungle. Now we have Najin, Limit coming down here. They probably have a timer on Dragon, on a rough estimate. So, him clearing out bot wave, shuffling it back a little bit, and then preparing to cycle down through Dragon.
But Shy is not going to let Limit push the bot lane away. He just pushed back. He just seems to reply almost.
Right.
Say that you're not going to be able to push this lane down.
Right.
While I'm on the watch.
With the Sunfire Cape against the Bork, just the damage output from Jax is not great enough right now to even deal with Shyvana. She can easily keep this push under tower with her Dragonflight being available. She has flash up. She can get caught out, because she can escape.
As they make preparation for the next Dragon team fight, Najin seems to be scavenging almost with hopes that they're going to be able to salvage something, but they take this bottom turret away.
Right. And by taking this bottom turret, you deny vision on the right-hand portion of the map. You do not enable them to fall back through, their own blue side jungle to that tier 1 tower, which maybe Najin was hoping on. And now they can easily just keep this lane shoved, have the minions providing vision for them, cycle back through Dragon, and also have ward dominance over Najin's blue side jungle.
And Israel pushing top lane, should we have an eye out for a potential CJ dive?
No, I don't see a dive coming down here. All the ultimates are...
And the Death Sentence lands, and the ultimate is on, and Limit is in the jam here. He escapes, but... Are they going to be able to push this tower away to Death Sentence? Wow, he just barely missed.
And now Dragon's up, tower's low. They've got, they've got some HP out of Najin, and now they can just safely fall back, take Dragon. Or they could bait a Dragon fight, depends on how they want to do it. But it seems like they're electing to continue pushing the lane, despite Dragon being up. So I feel like maybe they want to capture this tower here first, use the Nidalee poke.
And Nidalee just, the amount of damage just from a single spear hit. And they successfully push away the bot tower. Is CJ going to be able to take the Dragon as well?
Absolutely. I don't feel like Najin has any way to contest this. We have Jax recalling. Now he does have teleport up, and there is that ward there, but are you really going to jump on this team? Oh, it looks like
they're going to make the gamble. If Kai's Solar Flare lands on Lucian, Lucian is tied up, the Arcane Barrage coming in, CJ taking damage. But my goodness, look at this team fight. Shy flashes forward, dealing damage on Helios, and Helios is in the jam. And Space just coming in to finish them off. Israel's flashes down, Coco chasing him down. And it's going to be difficult for Prey to escape. Are they going to be... CJ bringing down 4, taking the Dragon, and bringing down 4 members of Najin's Sword.
That's just not something you want to have right now. Jax cannot hold this on his own. Now, Yasuo will be up in a little while, but Jax does have to dodge some spears right now. He has to dodge some Ws from Lucian.
And the spear
Counter-Strike, but he can't go in here, so I don't get why he would cast that.
And Kain goes in on Swift. I think Najin chasing CJ down, but given that the Leona ult is down, they weren't able to chase them down.
They weren't. Yeah, right. They were not able to chase there. They have too many team members missing. Jax is relatively low on HP. Counter-Strike's off cooldown. And everything was just exhausted.
And Coco taking the blue buff too. They seem to be taking everything away from Najin.
right now we just have standardized rotations coming out, pushing the lanes, keeping, you know, map coverage down through minions pushing, not just, you know, warding.
And look at Mad Life's positioning there, just tying down 3 of Najin's players with Flay landing so accurately. CJ just seems to be outplaying Najin at the moment.
Right, and we saw Ezreal, he tried to give assistance to Helios with that heal, but it wasn't enough to save him at the end of the day.
And Najin, the red buff on their jungle seems to be the only thing that Najin actually took in the past couple of minutes. And CJ is just strangling Najin.
Right. At this point, it's basically a suffocation hold.
And Jax is caught here, but he's not gonna. He actually has to opt to escape. Knowing that Shyvana, Dragon's Descent comes on, the Blade of the Ruin King lands on Jax, and Limit is not going to be able to survive this with Mad Life coming in. CJ Frost just seemed to have control over the entire map.
Right, they are map reading everything. They're mind reading everything, and it also speaks to itself that Shyvana has Blade of the Ruin King against this comp. Traditionally, if you look at the comp, Shyvana should be going a little bit more tanky before maybe committing to a Bork. But they know that they're so far ahead, they can stay far ahead.
Right.
So, Blade of the Ruin King, why not?
Why not? And the Death Sends land! My goodness, the amount of damage! The amount of nuking that Lucian did on Lee Sin, that's incredible. That just shows how strong CJ is at the moment.
Right.
So, what does Najin have to do to win this game, to bring this back?
They would have to get quite a few picks, which I don't believe is going to happen. CJ, as like you can see the minimap alone, there is total ward dominance going on right now. They're about to lose all their tier 2 towers. So eventually, I just predict that if the game doesn't end before, there will just be a Baron dance, and then the game will end off of that. I think the game is a little bit too far lost in consideration to the comps now, in the sense that Najin's comp could not have fallen this far behind. Not with what it needs to do.
And Shy just tanking the tower and pushing it away. Perhaps this game is a little beyond Najin's reach now. And the amount of map control, as you've mentioned, that CJ is able to put down is going to give them an advantage during the Baron fight.
Yes, correct. And they don't even necessarily need to take Baron. They could simply deny vision.
Wow.
They could wait, and they could just bait, Baron bait. You don't need to, if you're ahead, why? You don't necessarily need to eat Baron.
Yeah,
They can't necessarily shred it super fast right now. They could do it moderately quick, but there's no need to take it.
I mean, why take the risk when you don't need to?
Right. That's what it comes down to. And so now we also see that there is a heavy ward focus on the left side of the map because Baron is the only thing like remaining. That's Najin's only hope, is like some sort of a victory into a Baron to kind of crawl them back in, and that still wouldn't be enough. So we saw all the ward coverage coming down on the Baron side. We see all the focus being, you know, devoted to mid. Shyvana now rotating top, gonna, well, looks like she's recalling. I was expecting maybe she would shove that back. The recall might be because Dragon, we do have that coming up in a minute.
Oh, one thing that jumps out at me though is that despite how ahead CJ is, Najin's Nagne seem to be outfarming Nidalee. Do you think this will amount to anything significant?
It would have amounted to something significant if they hadn't lost so many fights and been down so many towers and dragons. Because obviously, yes, CS is extremely potent as the game scales. But at this point, again, I don't see Najin really coming back. Jax, he's kind of all over the place with his build right now.
Right.
Still not completing Trinity Force, tier 1 boots. He has Bilgewater Cutlass. That's not really doing anything to anyone on that team.
And Shy going down with the Dragon's Descent. He knows that there's no way that Jax can win this.
Bork versus Bilgewater.
He teleports. Oh, wow. Shy almost forced the teleport out of limit. How significant is this considering the future?
Spear just missed. And it looks like this inhibitor probably will go down. We'll probably do a siege here. Again, just like we saw, you know, 6-7 minutes ago with the siege on bot tower. They capped it. Superior vision control, superior ward control, fall back.
And the Death Sends lands on Nagne, but not amounting to much, but that alone must have been a huge threat to Najin. I mean, that's like CJ telling them, don't come close, we're gonna get you.
Right. but they can also assert that dominance. They know they have the lead, and Najin's aware they have the lead. So CJ, they can make some, you know, pray and hit.
Right. And Kine with the solar flare, but it doesn't land quite cleanly. The ult! My goodness, the Yasuo ult was glorious, but the difference in strength at the moment, I mean, it couldn't have gotten any better for Najin, actually, but it seems like CJ edged them out in the team fight. What happened there?
That's just basically the gold speaking for itself. You know, you have Evelyn, Ronduin's Omen, and everyone got clumped up there. They ate a big, you know, big Ronduin's to the face. That's obviously going to definitely hurt Najin's comp. And then on top of that, it is their only chance. They're forced. Their hand is forced because the inhibitor's going to fall. Inhibitor falls, super minions start pushing, they fall back, cap dragon, recall, meet it Baron.
Right.
It's just standard cycling. And Najin, knowing that, they have to make a move. They have to see if something can come out of that. And that is what I was talking about the team comp, where if they are not that far behind, we saw they did do it. Here we go again.
And the solar flare didn't seem to land quite cleanly. And again, like you've mentioned while we were talking about the supports early on, Madlife did take in a lot of damage, but he didn't really seem to mind as Nidalee and Lucian were dealing so freely.
It was for the greater good, right? And this is what I was talking about Madlife's KDA and also his style of play.
Maybe I got a little too excited by the Yasuo ult that it didn't really actually amount to much. Yasuo just seems to throw me off a lot. Like, every time I see him land this ult, I get super excited thinking that it's going to be the team fight winning ult, but it's not.
Right. And here we saw Najin trying to prepare for some sort of a pick. They had pink wards out, they had ward control technically over Baron, because they knew CJ hasn't been on the left side of the map in quite some time.
Right.
They can't have wards there right now. So they get there, they have the pink wards just for, you know, added measure, added security, and they try to get a pick. And maybe they can try to get something rolling off the pick because they're on a clock right now.
The Dragon's Descent goes down on Nagne. They know Nagne's... And Madlife flash plays Swift with the Randuin on. Frey is forced to use his flash. And the Agony's Embrace comes in. Kine used the solar flare trying to protect Israel, but they weren't able to.
And we saw that the Ronduin's Omen went down onto Ezreal, got the slow. Swift said, hey, my team can handle it. I'm going to go after...
Right.
You know, I'm just going to keep going forward. But then he sees he can't go forward anymore. The tower is going to stop him, and he just rotates to guarantee secure the kill on Ezreal.
I mean,
now they get mid inhibitor, 2 inhibitors down, and that was a little bit bizarre from Najin being that far out, overextended without ward coverage, because Jax was out of position. You know, Jax was dealing with the super minions in top lane. He was the inhibitor.
And CJ just taking this Baron. You've said that why risk going the Baron when they're already ahead, but this seems like they're just really confident that they're going to win the team fight in whatever situation.
I feel like they're really confident. They could see Jax when he was farming bottom lane, that Jax was relatively low on mana. He did have some HP missing. If they do try to contest, now here comes their chance.
My goodness! Lee Sin steals the Baron. As you've mentioned, a sliver of hope for Najin, but are they going to be able to survive out? Coco Zonia's Hourglass coming in. Limit not quite being able to tank, and Israel goes down. They steal the Baron, but Frost wins the team fight.
Teleport coming in from Shyvana now at bot lane, and this is just, they're going to shove this. Super minions pushing from 2 waves, ends the game. And we saw the Zonia's out of Nidalee as the second core item, because Nidalee says, hey, we're so far ahead, I don't need the Death Cap, I don't need Void Staff, I just need to live.
And that at the end of the game, which what handed CJ Frost the set.
Right. Well,
and Najin, it seems like they opted for the Baron steal as their